Oh.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Guess we're going no countdown today. That's fine. We can rock it anyways. Guys, Thursday, September 16th. You know what that means. We got Thursday night football coming out tonight, and we got a full schedule going on this afternoon. So, folks, we might speed through some things. So, try and keep up. We're going to start things off with the question of the day here in a minute. After that, we'll hit Cardinals versus Titans, Niners versus Lions, Broncos versus Giants from last week, Dolphins versus the Patriots. We're going to preview the Giants versus the Washington football team tonight, and that's a matchup. Very exciting. Jones has dominated this one, but he sucked in primetime. We'll talk that and more. Purdue versus Notre Dame coming up this weekend. UCF versus Louisville. Northern Illinois versus that team up north. Colorado versus Minnesota. Fresno State versus UCLA. Upset alert potential, folks. Should the Cowboys feed Zeke more, not Zach? Who's up next in the Big Ten with the Buckeyes potentially going down here? And we're going to talk NL Wild Card race and so much more, folks. Stay tuned. We're not going anywhere. So, folks, let's kick this thing off. Arizona Cardinals, Tennessee Titans. Kyler Murray put on something special with the help of his defense. And, man, Chandler Jones, 5 sacks. Tennessee was stuttering.
How about Chandler Jones? I mean, is it payday for him?
It better be.
I mean, it's been a talk, so I mean, he's definitely, if he keeps this up, he's definitely earning it.
That's for sure. I mean, it wasn't a bad day offensively necessarily for Ryan Tannehill, at least. I mean, 21 to 35, that's okay. You want better numbers. The one interception you wish you could take off. And it's those mistakes there that obviously added up to culminate in this loss. But 212 yards, a touchdown. You want more out of Tannehill in this ball game. But he was facing a ferocious pass rush, and when you get hit that many times, you're not making it very far. And they need better production from Derrick Henry. I mean, Tannehill was getting a better yards per carry than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was only averaging 3.4 off of 17 carries on 58 yards. I mean, Tannehill had 2 rushes, 17 yards, and a touchdown. Great that he also had 5 that went backwards, but it's just they need more of Derrick Henry. They need Tannehill to be more consistent. But really, they need that offensive line to start putting something together and really hold this, give Tannehill time to throw. Obviously, 5 sacks, he's running for his life back there, just from one guy. I mean, they had one other guy get 1 sack, and Michael Dogby, and, 6 total sacks. Your quarterback's feeling that one.
Yeah, definitely. And you talk about the running game. I mean, 58 yards, I think it was from Derrick Henry. It's got to be more than that.
Go ahead.
I mean, he had the opportunity too, 17 carries, but only 58 yards. This is not the Derrick Henry we have seen. This isn't the Henry that's won the
rushing title.
The rushing title the past couple of years. Right?
I mean, if you look at rushing on the other side of things, the Cardinals had 2 guys basically put up the same numbers as our rushing title champion, Chase Edmonds, 12 carries, 53 yards. James Conner, 16 carries, 53 yards. Then even Kyler Murray had 5 rushes for 20 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
They all, besides James Conner, they all average more yards per carry than Derrick Henry. I mean, and then we look at Kyler Murray's passing numbers, and isn't Kyler Murray just the perfect mix between Mahomes and Jackson?
He is. That's a good mix.
It's like if those two just combine, what pops out is Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
He's got the quickness, the explosiveness of Jackson, and I think he's got better feet than Jackson. He may not always have the same speed as Jackson because of the height difference. I think is probably where some of the speed comes from.
Quickness is definitely in terms of feet. He has the quickest feet probably.
He's a baseball player.
Oh, yeah.
It shows.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the fastest feet in the NFL.
Like we talked about yesterday, he has the weapons around him. Christian Kirk, you have DeAndre Hopkins, and then Rondale Moore, the rookie from Purdue. Right?
He had a good game. 4 receptions, 68 yards there. Average 17 per catch. And you go Christian Kirk, 5 receptions, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hopkins, 6 receptions, 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, they are producing. Don't even forget, they also have A.J. Green on the team. He had 2 receptions for 25 yards. This guy has everybody to throw it to. Then he can hand it off to Chase Edmonds or, a power back in James Conner.
I'm surprised about this beatdown they put on Tennessee. I am surprised about that. But I don't know if you guys remember from last year, when last year's season was starting, I was kind of telling you guys, I don't know how good they're going to be, but the Cardinals are somebody I thought could have been the 49ers from the previous year. So maybe if this is the year they can put it together. I mean, they definitely have talent. Like you guys just listed off all the names. They definitely have talent.
Yeah, definitely. And, Arizona has had a lot of hype. They definitely had it since Kyler's first year in there. They knew he was something special, and so did the media. I didn't think he was going to be as good as he was. I'll say it right now. I was wrong about Kyler Murray. I'll admit it. The guy is a straight-up baller.
Oh, yeah.
He's a dude.
Yep.
As Andy Cake would say,
dude.
he's a dude out there on the field.
Yeah, he's got Wolverine's blood.
You're right. You don't get that. But it don't matter. Kyler Murray's a dude out there, and he's going to lead this team to something special, especially with how they've surrounded him with talent. And you love to see it programs or these organizations bring in a quarterback and immediately load him up.
Yeah.
Same thing the Browns did with Baker. They brought in Baker first season, like, okay, we know what we need. Let's go get everyone.
Yeah.
They brought in tons of guys on defense, offense, loaded it up, and it's worked out for the Browns. They did it in Kansas City with Mahomes after after they kicked out Alex Smith. They gave him even more talent around him. 49ers have done it.
Yeah.
Bringing in Garoppolo really just for the offense because they found out they had a stacked defense and went, we need to score. It took them to the Super Bowl. When you have a team load up on offense to help out a young quarterback, these teams are finding out they can be pretty damn successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, loading up on every side of the ball, or both sides of the ball at every position. I mean, like you said with Baker, first year coming in, let's see what he's got, and then after that we're going to play to his strengths and get the guys around him that's going to benefit him.
And Cardinals have a pretty good schedule coming up. They'll host the Vikings next week. Then after that, they get to go down to Jacksonville, and then they have to go out to SoFi Stadium in LA and take on the Rams. And I think that really is probably their first big matchup of the season. Vikings, we don't really know how good they're going to end up being by the end of the year, but we saw it just earlier. We talked about it yesterday, you and I. They were okay.
They were all right. They weren't too bad. They
now.
weren't too good.
Right.
They were right in the middle,
And I think that Rams-Cardinals matchup probably the biggest one there. Unless, the Jaguars come out this week and start pulling something around. But we don't know. Obviously, we'll talk about that more as we get later into the season. But, Tennessee, on the other hand, they don't have a 2-week next week. They got the Seahawks this weekend. We'll preview all these games and more on Friday's edition of the Casual Sports Podcast. Oh, guys, I forgot the question of the day.
Oh, man.
From yesterday, man.
Oh, man, we're supposed to count
Amateur hour out here with me. So a question from yesterday: who is the Falcons' first-round draft choice in 2015? The answer: Vic Beasley. And your option for today for the question: which receiver caught 16 passes in a 2018 game? Your options: Antonio Brown, Larry Fitzgerald, Antonio Gates, Brandon Marshall, or Slant Boy himself, Michael Thomas. Leave your answers in your head and come back tomorrow, see if you get it right.
Think about it. Think about that one.
You can leave comments now, too, so leave comments. We'll come back, and
sure,
if you got it right, we'll point your name out and say, hey, you got it right.
Sure we will.
Sure we
and
will.
Next game up on the slate, talked about them a little bit there for a second, 49ers and Lions. 49ers put up 41 points. The offense was working it well, and defense probably doesn't want to give up 33 points every week. But you look at the numbers, a lot of those touchdowns just didn't come from a lot of places. They had 11 points here off of field goals from Robbie Gould. He went 2 of 3 for him. But man, to put up 41 points in a ball game and only one passing touchdown, defense is playing pretty good at that point. One passing touchdown, from Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey Lance had the other one, the rookie. So, like seeing that. Yeah. 2 rushing touchdowns. One came in from Eli Mitchell. Unfortunately, Raheem Mostert will be out rest of the season, torn ACL. Huge loss. But they also got Jermichael Hasty in there on a 3-yard rushing touchdown as well. But passing touchdowns went out to Deebo Samuel. He had 9 receptions for 189 yards. What a game.
Stepping it up.
Right. And then Kittle, 4 receptions, 78 yards. This is what we expect out of Kittle.
Yeah, he's doing what he needs to do.
And then you look at the other guy that got the touchdown for him, Trent Sherfield, 2 receptions, 23 yards. I would say all around good performance from this squad. They got an interception from Dre Greenlaw, so it was really a total team performance. And this was the 49ers we expected to step onto the field last season with 41 points.
Yeah.
That's what we expected. Unfortunately, those first 3 weeks devastated them in terms of injuries.
Just got ripped up with injuries.
And they already have Mostert out already. And it's becoming the question mark, why is the 49ers getting so injured? You almost wonder, is it something they have to look at internally? Is it their training staff not preparing guys medically? Is it the medical staff that's not taping up guys properly? There is no reason the 49ers, with the amount of money that gets put into this program, should be having everybody going down with injuries. Obviously, fluke injuries happen, but it's almost looking like more than a fluke for the 49ers.
Yeah, and especially Mostert. I mean, Mostert's been hurt time and time again.
Right.
Like you said, Matt, I mean, talking about Mostert, it usually seems like it happens to their best players.
Yeah.
So.
Either Mostert, last year,
Nick
Garoppolo,
Bosa,
and Nick Bosa went out.
Yeah, they had everybody go down. That's probably why 49ers looked to bring in Trey Lance and needed another guy. When you never know who's going to go down. They found that out last year, and they're picking up somebody that might be able to help them win, or at least win in the future. So, what did you guys think of Jimmy G's performance, though? 17-25, 314, and a touchdown?
Pretty
That
solid.
was pretty solid.
Pretty solid. You'd like to find the end zone a
I
little
like
bit
Jimmy
more,
Garoppolo. I mean, he's a solid quarterback. You took him to the Super Bowl. I get it, they're preparing for the future with Lance, and, if he gets injured again. But for now, this is his job. This is his job.
I mean, we talk about other quarterbacks from last year that had big injuries that are coming back to start this year. Garoppolo is one of them. I mean, and coming off an injury, I mean, that's a very solid performance on opening week. So it's definitely encouraging if I was a Niners fan to see the way he came out.
Yeah, and then you flip it on the other side of the ball. What a terribly run offense. Making Jared Goff throw it 57 times.
You have Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift in your backfield.
And they combined for nearly 90 yards on the ground.
And a guy like Jared Goff, where people pretty much say that he's not a good passer.
Yeah.
He's throwing 57 times.
He completed 38 of them, though, so not terrible.
So he's got to be.
338 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, but he didn't have the interception there. But, it's a solid day for him. They can't have him pass that much, though, especially with the skill that they have in the running back position.
That McDonald two-head monster with Gilligan and Hawk, they combined for 305 yards.
Right.
And
it doesn't always help them win either.
No.
Exactly. But then you look at the receiving core for the Lions. They had 2 guys go off. One of them out of the backfield, DeAndre Swift, 11 carries on the ground for 39 yards. He then had 8 receptions for 65 yards and a touchdown that way. So DeAndre Swift did his part. And, I mean, really, you look at the Lions side here, the offense, they did their job. 33 points in a game, you expect to be able to win that. It's just 41 on the other side. The defense has to be a lot better next week.
Well, and they fell behind too early.
Right.
And, they were down at least 20-something like that.
It was 31-10 at halftime.
So credit
second half, they came out trying to just throw this thing away.
Credit to them for coming back. And they did come back, but they it was too
short.
steep for them to climb up.
Yeah, I mean, what's that, 16 points in the fourth quarter and 7 in the third. If they wanted to come back, they needed a better third. You can't get shut out in a quarter here in the NFL unless your defense can answer back, but giving up 24 points in the second is it's exactly where the Lions fell apart.
Definitely.
And you can't give that up, expect a win here.
Especially from not scoring anything in the first, and you give up 24 in the second?
Right.
You can't do that. Do that.
Sloppy performance defensively for the Lions, but some bright sides for the offense. Talked about it with Swift. Hawkinson had a good day too. TJ Hawkinson, tight end, 8 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown for him. I mean, Jamal Williams had catches as well, 8 receptions, 56 yards. And I think they just need to find some wide receivers for Goff to throw to.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're throwing it to 2 running backs. And
it's definitely helping everybody. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if 24 of his 38 receptions went to 3 guys, and 2 of them are running backs and the other is a tight end, your wide receiver core sucks.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's flat out. Their wide receiver core sucks. So,
got to get some better skill guys for him to throw to. Definitely.
That's for sure. Moving on, next game here, Miami Dolphins, Patriots. One of the best games probably from this week one in terms of we didn't really know exactly what to expect.
Game.
We had a young rookie in Mac Jones. Then on the other side, you have Tua Tagovailoa. And, both squads kind of even. It really felt like this was an even battle going back and forth. I like what New England's done here.
Yeah, even though they
coming
lost.
right back from the down season.
Yeah,
they're already bouncing back. Belichick's not staying down for long. He's
No.
going out to his nearest Walmart and Big Lots, grabbing the cashier and turning them into the next Edelman. I mean...
That's what he does.
And that's what he does.
It's true.
He pulls guys out the rough, and he just will go recruit anybody anywhere. He doesn't care. He's looking for guys that help him win, and they're putting together a good squad. But you look at the Dolphins here; they get the win. They had probably a pretty good performance for them. 7 points in the first, 7 in the third, just 3 in the second. They got to get that fourth quarter scoring though. And I've always said it. I think the third quarter is the most important quarter in football.
Definitely.
Unless you're in like a 1-possession ball game, then it's obviously the fourth. But that third quarter, straight out of the half, if you win the third by a large margin,
you're in good shape.
You're winning the football game 9 times out of 10. They won the third by a slim margin, but they come out on top. Tua 16-27, 202 yards, touchdown, interception. On the ground, they had a good performance out of Myles Gaskin. They liked what they saw.
I like Myles Gaskin.
9 carries, 49 yards. And
not too bad.
You'd love to see him get in the end zone, probably break off another big rush. Tua had a rushing touchdown as well.
They even got Jacoby Brissett running a little bit there.
But they need to find some more consistency out of some of these guys in the receiving core. Devontae Parker and Jalen Waddle did what they needed to, though. Each had 4 receptions. They combined for 142 yards. Just 1 touchdown, though. And when you see that many yards out of 2 guys, you expect more than 1 touchdown. And they're definitely showing good signs in the passing game, though. And coming up in week 2 here this Sunday, probably looking a little bit better.
Yeah, I definitely like the receivers they have in the guys too.
They gotta get Mike Gesicki going. He had 0 receptions.
Well, Mike Gesicki needs to get open.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, like you said, especially being tight end, you got to find ways to get open, find the holes to get into. But like I said, I like the receiving core. And did you say they play this week?
I can pull it up right here. Dolphins will take on the Bills. So definitely a tough matchup.
Definitely score production. Yeah.
On the flip side, the Patriots will have to go take on the Jets, so it'll be a pretty good game for them before they host the Saints in Week 3. So, I think a good start from both sides on the season. Here for the Patriots, 29-39 for the rookie Mac Jones. I think they need to use him less. 281 yards and a touchdown. If you're throwing the ball 39 times, you better be getting more than 1 touchdown through the air. So they need to improve there. But Damian Harris, 23 carries. So they use their running back just fine. It's just a matter of they need more production. They got good production, 100 rushing yards, only 4.3 yards per carry, though. So they need Damian Harris just to get them a little bit more. We're not asking for 20-yard carries every other time out there, but take that 4.3, make it 5, and you win the football game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things. Getting that extra 0.7 yards per carry, it's hard to do in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be considered 3.5 yards was a good day. 3.5 yards per carry was a great day in the NFL. We're expecting a lot more because we're getting so many more possessions in football. So you have to get 3.5, make it a 4.5, 5.0. Get something, make those big plays, make those big cuts, and find the end zone on the ground too. If you're getting the ball 23 times, one of those better end up in the end zone.
Yeah, definitely. And like you even said about Mac Jones, like you got to put more than 1 in the end zone. I like his performance a lot. I mean, as a rookie coming out, 200 plus yards throwing,
short passes,
29-39. I mean,
but he found 8 different receivers in this ball game, and that's the impressive part. When sometimes rookies will come in.
That's what I like.
They have one guy like Nelson Aguilar, his favorite receiver from the night, had 72 yards and 5 receptions. But you almost sometimes see these rookies come in and just get pass heavy towards one guy. You even see it with Baker when Odell is out there. He'll get pass heavy towards one side. It ends up hurting the team. You didn't see that with Mac Jones here. I mean, he had 5 receptions to Aguilar, 6 to James White, 6 to Jacoby Myers, 5 to Jonnu Smith, 3 to Hunter Henry, 2 to Damian Harris, 1 to Kendrick Bourne, 1 to Ramondre Stevenson. So he spread the ball out well. You like to see that here out of Mac Jones. But they need that next step.
Yeah.
So, once again, they didn't score in the first quarter. What have we seen here? Teams that don't score in the first quarter, they're not winning the football games here in week 1. You have to find that momentum out of the gate. I mean, they did a great job tying it up going into half at 10-10. Came out a little flat, though, in the third quarter, and they couldn't get it back in the fourth quarter either. Just 2 field goals in the second half for them, and they need more.
Yeah.
That's just week 1. Think for the Patriots, they need more. That's the headline.
Well, you always want more with a lot of teams. So
you always want more.
Going next week, like we brought up again, playing the Jets at the Jets. So that should be a game where they can figure at least some of this stuff out. So we'll see.
We saw a big day for Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos, 27-13 win over the Giants. We'll talk Giants, Washington football team here after this one. So if you want to hear about that, make sure you don't go anywhere. As Broncos here, Teddy Bridgewater, 28-36. Pretty solid day, I would say, for him. 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. Melvin Gordon on the ground, averaging 9.2 yards per carry on 11 carries, 101 yards and a touchdown. Javonte Williams had 14 carries, 45 yards, and he was spreading the ball out well. Jerry Jeudy, unfortunately, out with an injury now. He had 6 receptions for 72 yards. He was on his stuff there in the Noah Fant, the Iowa tight end. 6 receptions for 62 yards. KJ Hamler, your Penn State receiver, 3 receptions, 41. I mean, Tim Patrick had 4 receptions. Melvin Gordon had 3. had 3. I don't know how to...
Apologies.
Akwegbuna. Go to Google, type in the Broncos wide receivers. It's on there.
His name is Albert.
Yeah,
Albert.
Number 85, Albert. I'm guessing he's a tight end.
Yeah.
85?
Seems like a tight end number.
But especially now with Jerry Jeudy out, the big guys that have to step up. I mean, obviously KJ Hammer and Courtland Sutton as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Only 1 reception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got to get some of those bigger names back in there, and Bridgewater still got to find him. We know he's a good quarterback. He had a great year in.
I'll take that stat line right there.
Carolina when he was there, he had a great season.
I mean, he was great with Minnesota.
Yeah.
I love him.
Too.
With, Minnesota. That's where he really shined. One thing.
I'll take that stat line right there from Bridgewater.
I think he was with the Saints for a little bit.
Yeah,
too.
he was backing up. I think.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now Von Miller after the game told Teddy Bridgewater, he's like, I haven't felt this kind of thing since Peyton Manning was here.
Yeah.
And so the energy is back in the Mile High City.
I got a feeling for him. I think Teddy was the right guy. I like that signing in the offseason.
It was a good one, especially for a team that has sucked drafting quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what's been holding him back.
Hitting.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver that had to come
the
in.
emergency quarterback.
He wasn't even the starter for the game. He went to Philip Lindsay.
Yeah, I know.
Who's not even on the team anymore, but Broncos take on the Jags next week. So probably a 2-0 start for him, but we'll see how the Jags respond here in week 2. On the flip side, Daniel Jones, 22 of 37, 267 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Saquon really couldn't do anything. 10 carries, 26 yards rushing. Daniel Jones had more rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. So Saquon Barkley, probably not a guy you're looking at for fantasy stats here in week 2 if you're going that way. Just an abysmal performance on the ground for him.
And we'll have to see if he even plays tonight because coming off the injury, I don't know if they wanted to play him in like 5 days, so we'll see if he even plays
I think
tonight.
they need to give him the ball more. I mean, only 10 carries. Like, I know is the injury history, but you got to give him the chance. When he's there, use him.
Right.
We have him now. Don't just give him the ball 10 times.
And they need a better completion percentage from Jones. 22 of 37. I mean, this is nitpicking right here, but would you score 13 points on offense and 2 of them came off field goals? I think you have every right to start nitpicking here.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think 2 came off field goals. I think there was a missed PAT. Sorry, we don't watch every game on TV all the time.
Yeah.
We try.
I try. I mean,
We're busy.
I really try. Yeah.
But Giants, wide receivers, one guy had a great day. Sterling Shepard, 7 receptions, 113 yards for him with the touchdown as well. So Daniel Jones, pretty good at getting it to one guy. Just Slayton only had 3. Granted, he had 65 yards off of it. Kenny Galladay, 4 receptions, 64 yards. You want to see a little bit
Rudolph, man.
more.
He was like a hero in Minnesota for years.
Yeah.
Coming to the Giants, you gotta find him more. 3 receptions, 2 receptions,
2 for 8 yards. I mean,
2 for 8 yards.
Probably not
Gotta give him the ball more.
going to be looking back to Kadarius Toney. 2 receptions, -2 yards.
Oh God, that's a guy that is drafted, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably not going to be finding him here. Saquon Barkley, a guy we know as a good receiving back as well. One reception, 1 yard. So I think they need to find more ways to get Barkley involved in the offense, and that opens up the field. When you can stretch the defense out with a guy like Sterling Shepard, and obviously Galladay and Slayton did a great job stretching out the field too, and some big yardage put up there. And that opens it up for guys like Kyle Rudolph who aren't going deep balls, who are short, 5 yards and out, 5 yards and in, 5 yards and just sit there. Get Saquon Barkley involved out of the backfield, swing him out, get some screens going, even send him out wide. He can work out there playing as a wide receiver. You saw it sometimes at Penn State. They would move him out of there and throw him a screen pass off to the side, or even run him on a slant or a drag.
He was just as good as that as running. I mean, that's half of his game, obviously.
Right, and he's a guy that has always had great hands. So it's just this offense needs to get Saquon involved. If they can get Saquon involved, I think they stand a better chance of winning football games. Speaking of winning football games, someone's 0-1 streak has to break here. Washington football team, New York Giants tonight, 8:20. Should be a great game. Some background. Giants are 4-0 against Washington with Daniel Jones as a starter, but the Giants are 0-5 in primetime games with Daniel Jones as their starter. So one of those streaks has to come to an end tonight. Which one do you guys think it's
one
going to
be?
be?
One of them's got to get a win call.
Keep in mind, though, hold on. Last time we saw Giants on Thursday Night Football, Daniel Jones took it about, 70 yards and then fell down? Fell down at the 15-yard line, rolled up to the 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, wasn't that the game you see in Ghost?
Yeah.
That's Darnold.
Darnold.
Yeah, Darnold. Yeah.
Darnold sees Ghost, and Daniel Jones trips off those BW3's sprinklers.
We're getting Heineke tonight, though, for the football team.
Now we
Yeah,
are.
that's what I'm excited about, and I think that's the game changer right there. I think he's going to lead the football team to a win here.
Heineke magic. You know what? I think Heineken needs to get a sponsorship with Heineken, though.
Let's make that happen.
Let's make that happen. Great.
Heineke to Heineken.
If you're listening,
why haven't we jumped on that yet?
Right?
I mean, come on now.
You know, I think if he puts off a big season this year with Fitzpatrick out, especially if he capitalized on Fitzpatrick being out of this ball game and can steal the starting job. I mean, he's got the next 4 weeks to do it.
I think somewhat probably longer than that. I mean, we'll see how long that rehab takes, but I mean, this is a guy they've liked. This is a guy that Ron Rivera likes. We'll see.
Yeah, they pretty much ran Dwayne Haskins out of there to give Heineke the backup job. So I mean, they obviously like him. They obviously want him there. We just hope that they have a better performance than they did last week when they started 0-1. But it wasn't a bad game for him. I don't think that week 1 game. We obviously have talked about it on the show, but there was a lot to like out of Heineke in that ball game, a lot to like on the ground with Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
I think this is a strong week 2 matchup for them. I think they pick up their first win over the Giants with Daniel Jones at the start.
I think so. I mean, obviously their defense is going to be their defense. I mean, that's what they are, and that's what got them to the playoffs last year. But I think last year when Heineke started the playoff game, I'd like to see more scoring out of their offense, and we'll see if he can do that against the Giants. I'm going with the football team tonight.
Football team, man.
All right.
Football.
Matt, 2 football teams. Your pick.
Oh, I already picked the football team.
Okay. No analysis in there?
I did. I said Taylor Heineke's the game changer. I said he's going to lead him to the win.
All right.
We're riding with Heineke.
All right. It's Heineke time for the Heineken future sponsor. So we'll move out of the NFL here. We'll preview all 16 or all 15, 14, something like that, NFL games for week 2. Coming up tomorrow, so we'll have to rapid fire through there. We'll also talk a little bit more college football tomorrow before a very special award at the end of that show tomorrow night.
And I have some good nominations for that award. Mike, we're not saying it just yet. We
I know.
slipped it yesterday, and
it slept, but
me head.
I don't know what you're talking about, Matt.
Yeah.
But let's move it into college football. I have the upset alert bells ringing here tonight. Saturday, September 18th, 2:30 p.m. Purdue Boilermakers in Indiana to take on number 12 Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish.
Did you just say this is one of your upsets?
I think Purdue can take
That's
this.
funny. I was actually going to text in the group text today and say, hey, I like Purdue. Because I was looking at some of these games, and I was looking at some
Jack
upsets.
Cohn wasn't strong in that last game.
No.
They struggled coming down at the end of it, even to pull out against Toledo in that one. And it was one of those games where like, this isn't a top 10 team, and they're not. This is the number 12 team. Purdue started off 2-0 here so far, and they've done it pretty well in those games. They beat Oregon State already, 30-21, a game you would have liked to see them do a little better. Then they came out last weekend, 49-0 over UConn.
Woo!
I mean, we know UConn's not good this year, but 49-0, and that's still a Group of 5 team in the American Conference that you expect a little bit more out. They had a little bit of hype coming into the season. It's completely fallen off now, though. But, it's a shutout. Anybody shows that you got what it takes to make a
49-0.
play a good game.
Yeah, against anybody. That's something to be proud of.
And you look at that offense, averaging basically what's going to amount to 40 points per game, going in there against Notre Dame. It's in South Bend, so it definitely plays to Notre Dame's advantage, but it's not like it's a far drive for those Purdue fans. And we know Purdue travels, too.
Yeah.
This is Big Ten.
Big Ten country.
This is Big Ten country. Notre Dame's just living in it. So, I think this is a great game for Purdue to come out there and really make their statement. Their last game, they had 3 different guys come into play quarterback. Jack Plummer was their starter, 16 of 20, 245 yards, 4 touchdowns. Even the backup then came in and went 9 of 11 for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. They pulled him out, brought in the third string guy. He went 5 for 5 with 44 yards. Didn't throw a touchdown, but damn. And then on the ground, they got a running back whose first name is King. So you already know he's ruling the field. He's King. 12 carries, 74 yards. They had Davis Bell on one play, get 26 yards. Dylan Downing, 14 carries, 72 yards. Even on wide receivers, Davis Bell, 5 receptions, 121 yards, and 3 receptions. I mean, this team is loaded right now with talent off of that game. And even go back to the Oregon State game, Plummer had a pretty good game there. 29 of 41, 313 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Alexander Horvath was the back in that game. He did all right, too. 21 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. They didn't run King Doru as much. After his performance, I think, against UConn, he's going to get a lot more carries here against Notre Dame. And I got the bells ringing for the Boilermakers.
I mean, they like to pull off upsets.
You know what I'm talking about. I don't know if we should bring it up.
Hey, man, you got to get those Boilermakers down for the Boilermakers.
Heck yeah.
That's...
I love that drink. I mean, Alec and I have done it a couple of times.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I've never done that.
Do.
I have definitely never done that, Matt.
Oh yeah, that's. We've thought about doing it. Though.
Thought about it. You've done it, and I just sat there.
Yeah, that's right. Mike did it with me, though.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was Mike.
Notre Dame, though, they've struggled in those first 2 games. Notre Dame beat Florida State 41-38, and they barely pulled out a 3-point win against Toledo. They have not been good at 1, covering the spread, and 2, pulling out at any point. They have been waiting till the last minute. They needed Jack Cohn to lead them on a touchdown drive with a dislocated finger. He threw the touchdown pass after dislocating his finger in the very next play.
Yeah.
So, they show that they have heart, but I'm liking the Boilermakers, man.
Purdue, man.
Purdue looks strong. Yeah. I think we have another good game, though. This one's tomorrow. Fly a little bit under the radar. UCF, they're 2-0 right now once again. They're going up against ACC's Louisville Cardinals, who are 1-1 on the season, with a loss against number 17 Ole Miss and a 30-3 win over Eastern Kentucky. But UCF, I just like this one coming in 2-0. They have a 5-point win over Boise State back in week 1. They beat Bethune-Cookman Wildcats 63-14 last week. So they're coming off a big win against the 1-1 Louisville Cardinal team. Louisville is obviously the far ahead favorite in this one, just based at their ACC, and they have a big win last week as well. But I think it's that Mississippi Ole Miss game to start off the season, 43-24. They lost that one. It was disheartening. Their quarterback Cunningham went 22-37, 191 yards, just 1 touchdown, and he had an interception. The ground game was okay, but it all came from Cunningham. This is the same offense Lamar Jackson was running. It's all quarterback. It's quarterback or bust for them, basically. Yeah. They don't have that guy on the ground. Jalen Mitchell was good. 12 carries, 49 yards, 4.1 yards per carry. If they get him involved more, they're going to need to do that. But Cunningham was all they had, and he had 1 touchdown through the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and 79 yards on the ground as well. So they need to get more out of that offense there. You go on the flip side here, UCF. You like that big game, obviously, in week 2, but you go back to that week 1 game against Boise State. Yes, they had 2 interceptions in that one, but Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback, 25-37, 318 yards, 4 touchdowns. Then you go to Isaiah Bowser, who's running the football, 33 carries, 172 yards, and a touchdown. Ooh. So they also have Jalen Robinson, who caught the ball for 5 receptions or 6 receptions, 140 yards and a touchdown for him as well. They were spreading the ball out really well in that game against Boise State, and you can pretty much throw
gets a good Boise State team.
Right. You can pretty much throw that Bethune-Cookman Wildcats game out of there, but if you want to look at stats from that one, Dylan Gabriel had a pretty good day on his own as well. 23 of 36, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns. You like to see that. Yeah. Good tune-up game, and 63 points on offense. You love that, and Isaiah Bowser loved it even more. 12 carries, 4 touchdowns.
Solid. Very, very good.
Solid. Was that 33% of your carries to turn it out as a touchdown? Yeah. I think any offensive coordinator writing up this game this week is like, I think we handed off to Bowser. So, this is another one. You kind of still want to ring those up. I don't know if this is necessarily an upset, but I like the Knights here.
I don't think it's an upset. I like you said, I like them to win this game, so we'll see. Louisville's too inconsistent, especially the last couple of years. I'm going UCF in this game.
I get UCF as well. They've got some key weapons, and they showed that they can win big. So,
and the spread actually does favor UCF at -7. So the over/under is 62.5 for the game as well. So keep that in mind, folks.
I think it'll be over that. So
I think we have another potential upset in the works, or at least a game that's going to challenge that team up north that I despise. And it's a question mark, actually, because they're facing Northern Illinois, a team that's 1-1 on the season, but they do have a win over a Power 5 ACC team and a 1-point victory over Georgia Tech from week 1. They just narrowly lost to Wyoming last week by 7. They put up 43 points last week against Wyoming. They come in here in the Big House. I think Michigan pulls away late, but I think this is a game that challenges them for a few quarters. Obviously, we saw Michigan, they've really wiped the floor with their opponents here so far. They're putting up a good performance. Obviously, 47-14 win over Western Michigan to start things off. McNamara was pretty good, 9 of 11 in that first game with 2 touchdowns. Then you go into that second game against a Power 5 Washington
they set
Huskies.
the tone in this game. They kept it all night.
But they didn't really have a pass game in that one.
No.
It was 7 of 15 for Cade McNamara and 44 yards. They need more offense here, especially once they hit conference play. But you look at the ground game.
Woo!
We knew Hassan Haskins coming into this one, coming into the season, was going to have a great one.
Man.
But Blake Corum, 21 carries, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns. Haskins, 155 yards on 27 carries and a touchdown. The rush game for Michigan is legit. And
keep that going. Keep
that going, and we're potentially looking down at a game here at the end of the season, Thanksgiving weekend, between the Buckeyes and that team up north, at a game where we know Ohio State's rush defense has been abysmal. A game that Michigan hasn't won in what's turning out to be nearly a decade now.
I would say close to 10 years.
It'll be a decade. Yeah.
I believe it was either 2011 or 2012 when Michigan last won, versus Ohio State. And I don't know the last time they won in Columbus.
You just said Michigan, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It happens. I'll just have to bleach my mouth afterwards. But, this is a game that Michigan will have to be good in, I think, because Northern Illinois out of the MAC is going to give everybody a rough game. They always do. It's a very tough physical squad, and they really have been these last, 10 years, the last decade. They really have just been a physical team in the MAC, and even if they don't end up winning it, they have been a powerhouse, especially in the early 2000s in the MAC, and then they've kind of slid off recent years, but they love to give these Power 5 schools a run for their money. We saw it with Georgia Tech. We saw it with Wyoming's not a Power 5, but they're a good Power 5 team, or a Group of 5 team. And now they're coming in against Michigan. I think this is a game where they're not going to win it, but it's going to be close.
Like you said, their first 2 games, they've been in close games. They've been battle tested their first 2 games. Like you said, I'm not picking them to win this game, but I think for maybe 2 quarters, maybe possibly 3 quarters, they can keep it close. And Michigan will probably pull away at the end, but this is one to keep an eye on because it's going to be interesting.
I'm looking.
Okay.
Right,
well, you want to preview next week here for Michigan as well. They start conference play. They host Rutgers. Then week 2, they go out to Wisconsin. That's probably their first real test of the season that we'll get to see. And then after that, it's a pretty nice schedule for them down the length of it. But then once they hit Michigan State, October 30th, they'll get an easy game against Indiana. Then they go to Happy Valley to face on Penn State. Then they have to then go all the way out to Maryland as well, take them out. And we don't know what Maryland's going to look like by then. They're looking strong so far. We talked about them yesterday on the show against Illinois. This coming, I think, either today or, I think it's today. And then they finish out the season, obviously, against Ohio State in a game that, once again, has a lot of question marks going into it for both sides.
Yeah, I was going to say for both sides, especially that Ohio State defense.
It would have been a decade. It's going to be a decade. 2011.
Oh, that's really. What's your pick here? Michigan, Northern Illinois.
Oh, Michigan.
By a landslide?
Yeah. It's going to be close early.
But Michigan's pulling away.
Michigan's going to pull
I'm
away.
saying close to
Third quarter, fourth quarter, Michigan's going to be like, all right, it's time to stop messing around. And
I think it all depends on the ground game. If the ground game was working like it did last week, I think they pull away by halftime.
But get more
if
of
they
that passing
can't
going.
Get the running game going, I think Northern Illinois is going to have an easier job stopping, Cade McNamara at quarterback and really potentially stalling out this Michigan offense.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Northern Illinois is going to do. They're going to stall out this offense for a decent bit. They either keep it close to the end or they get blown up by halftime. There's not going to be an in-between here.
I agree. I'm the same way.
So, next game up on the schedule, another potential great matchup here.
I like this one.
Minnesota, 1-1, in Colorado to take on the Buffaloes, who are also 1-1. Colorado, week 1, defeated an FCS Northern Colorado 35-7. Week 2, we talked about it yesterday, that Texas A&M Colorado game that was 10-7. And you really look at that game, it was like the defense wasn't great, the offense wasn't great. There was very odd that it was a 10-7 ball game. You don't see that anymore in college football, especially not of a team that was supposed to be top 10. We know Minnesota is without Mohamed Ibrahim, and that's the big downside for them. And, they're coming off a tough win against the 0-2 Miami Redhawks, down 31-26. And, it was like, oh, come on. Luckily, they found somebody else on the ground to go to. Trayson Potts, 34 carries, 178 yards, 2 touchdowns. So even without, their fantastic running back in Mohamed Ibrahim, they were still able to run the football. That is what this Minnesota offense is built on. But just like Michigan, they need to get that pass game going in order to be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of saw that when they faced Ohio State. When Ibrahim went out, Tanner Morgan couldn't, come in and close the deal.
I mean,
Tanner Morgan, we've seen Sean before, has seemed to kind of drifted off a little bit.
He granted, you go back, what was it, 2 seasons ago? He had 2 1,000-yard receivers.
They were talking about him for the Heisman.
Right. This guy had 2,000 yards separated between 2 different receivers, and, I mean, it was a great, matchup there.
Yeah, and then, with Colorado, you've got to see if they can bounce back, especially offensively. I mean, out-of-conference games like that going up against Texas A&M, you normally don't see low-score games like that in out-of-conference games. So we've got to see if their offense can get back on track against Minnesota.
So, predictions here? Colorado, Minnesota. In Colorado, 1 p.m. Saturday.
Oof. I say
it's a
tough and grit. Gotta go to Minnesota.
He's rowing the boat. Are you rowing it too?
I am. I like... They're tough, Matt, especially in close games.
They're tough.
So, I mean... Colorado was just in a close game. They lost it. So I think if Minnesota can take advantage of that close game, that they can pull away.
This is just random. The last time Michigan beat Ohio State in Columbus was 2000.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Drew Henson was the quarterback. Drew Henson, that's a guy that replaced Tom Brady at Michigan.
And that was before Tressel was even in the building. So
when I saw 2000, I'm like, oh my god, was it the last time they beat him with Brady? No. It was
okay, my prediction here for Colorado, Minnesota. Oh, man, this is a tough one.
It's very tough.
Minnesota's offense has been clicking pretty well here, but Colorado's defense is on something right now.
It is.
They're 1-1. The close game against A&M last week.
Give up 10 points to A&M. I mean, they stepped up.
An offense that's supposed to be really good. And I think the Buffalo's defense locks up here in Minnesota, and I think they get just enough. I think Colorado takes it.
You can go either way with this one. This is a tough game.
I like the Buffalo's defense, though. In Minnesota, they haven't shown a complete offense. They haven't shown a complete game either. They haven't been solid through a whole game. They have looked like a top 10 team for 3 quarters against Ohio State. They looked like they were a bottom feeder team against Minnesota. Against Miami.
Yeah.
In the first quarter and even the second half. 10 points in the second half, 7 points in the first quarter. The second quarter was the only one they were good. They had 2 touchdowns in the second. Other than that, they really got run over by Miami. I don't like the way they're looking right now. Until Minnesota looks like a complete team, I can't give them the win here. Colorado has looked like a complete team. Obviously, they needed more offense against A&M, but the defense came up there, and that's a top 10 defense. They came up against Texas A&M. They were a field goal short. They obviously destroyed the FCS opponent week 1 with another strong defensive performance. You go in anywhere and allow 7 points or less. It's great defense.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what Colorado has shown so far in the season. That's why I give the edge to Colorado.
Yeah, good point there. But I just feel like Minnesota's got to come out over this, drought they're in. They had a great game against Ohio State. They hung in for a while, and maybe they played down to their opponent maybe a little bit against Miami. Maybe that's just
teams do that.
Maybe they got worn out a lot against Ohio State. Maybe you don't want to put all your players
discouraged
back in.
with the loss of Ibrahim.
Yeah. Maybe just maybe now this game they got everybody healthy. Come out.
We'll see.
We'll see Minnesota. We'll see.
I'm ringing the bell here once more for the upset potential. UCLA, Fresno State. Fresno State's had a strong season right now. They murdered Connecticut UConn week 1, 45-0. They then stuck it within 7 points of Oregon in a 31-24 ball game, in one that made everyone start doubting Oregon as a contender, and they're now ranked number 4 in the country after smacking around Ohio State. I'll say it, they smacked them around.
Yeah,
C.J. Verdell on the ground was fantastic. Their defense was fantastic, and then Fresno State week 3 here went and took down Cal Poly 63-10. So their offense in 2 games have put up over 45 points. In 1 game, they still had 24, and that was against what is going to end up at the end of the season to be a top 5 defense in Oregon.
Yeah.
Most likely. So Fresno State is no schmuck right now. And
But
then
UCLA,
I've loved UCLA in the season so far. They beat Hawaii in that Week 0 matchup, 44-10. They beat LSU. It was a 9-point ball game, 38-27. I love their quarterback, DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah.
They need to give him the ball more, let him throw it around. But they had great production on the ground.
Zach
and they're
Charbonnet. We got former Michigan player transferring over.
Don't forget Bretton Brown right behind him too. 17 carries, 96 yards. He had more carries, less yards. Still, both those guys got a touchdown and 3 touchdowns through the air for DTR. A guy who's in the talks for the Heisman Trophy. Who we talked about the Heisman Trophy yesterday on the show for quite a bit. If you guys haven't seen that, make sure to go check it out. Pretty heated discussion there. For one-sided heated discussion. Matt didn't really have too many opinions. I was just yelling at the camera.
You were just
like Alec always does.
Right? Yeah. I was just.
He was just showing everybody that CJ Stroud should win the Heisman, but it's not going to happen.
I was more saying that the Heisman is a joke.
Yeah, because it's a popularity contest.
By far.
It's a Nissan advertisement at this point.
It's not about who's good, it's about who they like.
It's going to be who fits in the next Nissan Heisman commercial.
Nobody likes the Big Ten. The committee hates putting them in.
I think they got it right with Devontae Smith last year, though.
Yeah.
They did.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm talking about in years past. Like, somebody has a bad game, and they're like, oh, you're done. I mean, one bad game, nobody's perfect.
Right. And if you want to hear that full discussion, go back to yesterday's episode. But Fresno State, UCLA, it's here in UCLA for the Bruins, so it's a home game for them. They come off that strong win against LSU after LSU was trash-talking all week. You know, DTR and his squad put up a good one. But there's something about this Fresno State squad, right? They're scrappy.
Yeah.
I was looking at when I was looking at games before the show. I swear, some of these upsets, I was thinking the same thing as you because I was looking at this one too. I was like, I like Fresno State in this one. I like UCLA. I mean, they're having a good year, but are we sold on them yet? Are you sold on them yet?
On UCLA?
Yeah.
I love UCLA.
I like them a lot.
Their coach, man. I love their coach. It's Mac Brown, right?
Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly. I love Chip Kelly. That's right. Mac Brown's North Carolina. My bad. But, yeah, I love Chip Kelly. I mean, the guy is probably almost a legend in college football. I mean, that Oregon team he coached a while back seemed to be unstoppable every year.
And, UCLA only favored by 10 at -10 here at the spread. So
at home, too.
At home. This is a game Fresno's looking at. They're hungry for a win here. This can pump them back up into the top 25. Something we haven't seen them in a few seasons now. They were in it just a few years ago, so we know they have a strong program, and if they want to make a good bowl game at the end of the season, this is a game they have to win.
Yeah, for sure.
Predictions, start off with you, Matt. Fresno State, UCLA.
I say UCLA holds off.
How big? Think they cover? The -10 spread? Think they cover?
I think they cover.
Mike?
I was going Fresno State before you even talked about this upset. I like Fresno State in this game.
I like the upset. I just think... I think they're going to bring it to them. But, UCLA, they got a lot of weapons.
They do.
The guy, their quarterback, is being mentioned for the Heisman. Chip Kelly knows how to work with those guys. Especially, Marcus Mariota, look at that right there. He knows how to work with Heisman candidates. He knows how to make them into stars. I think he's going to lead them to their victory.
All right, well... So we got one Bruin, one Bulldog. I think I got to give it to the Bruins as well. I don't think they cover, though.
You don't think they cover?
No, I think Fresno State keeps this close.
Fair.
I think it probably ends as 4-point ball game, I think. Fresno State's going to try and go for 2 at some point. They're not going to get it because I think they don't want to take this game to overtime. They're going to want to try and end this thing in regulation. They're going to go for 2 at some point late. And I think they'll miss it. Because they'll probably I'll say scores 26-30.
26-30.
I think that's probably right around what the score is. Something around there.
I say they barely get the 10 point.
Okay.
So maybe 13 point.
Okay. Well, that's that one here. That finishes us up for college football as well. Well, sort of. How about we talk this one first then? Who is up in the Big Ten? Ohio State might be having a down season. We've seen a very, very strong, tough Iowa. They're number 5. Penn State's ranked at number 10, right behind Ohio State. Michigan State here, if they win this weekend, could probably go ahead and jump into the top 25 with a win over Miami, Florida. We talked that game yesterday, too. Obviously, Maryland's 2-0. Even Rutgers is 2-0. Michigan is 2-0, ranked at 25. Indiana, really the only team in the Big Ten East that is down. We don't know what Ohio State's future is going to hold. They still have a lot of talent. They still have one of the best quarterbacks in the country in C.J. Stroud. The question marks are still the defense, though. But you go to the Big Ten West, Iowa, Purdue, the 2 best teams out there. And that's probably all we're going to see out of the Big Ten West. You might see Minnesota make the comeback, though, into it. But I think Iowa and Purdue right now, 2 strongest teams out of the West, and then 6 teams here in the Big Ten East. If it's not Ohio State, who is it?
I don't know. It's just
I think Big Ten West, I give it to Iowa. Who's Big Ten East, though?
Penn State.
I don't know, Matt. There's some games that we're going to trip up on.
We got a big game this week. We got to play Auburn.
I'm not giving up that tomorrow.
Yeah, we will.
We will preview that tomorrow.
I don't care. I still say it's Ohio State. I don't care.
Right. If they get past Iowa, I mean, in a couple of weeks here. Oh, when do they play Iowa?
Like week 4 or 5.
Week 4 or
6
5.
maybe.
You got it right here, right?
Penn State will face them
October 9th.
October 9th, so in 3 weeks.
At
so
Iowa, that
3
scares
weeks.
me.
Yeah.
If they can go into Iowa and beat them, it's Penn State.
I don't know if you're going into Iowa.
If they can go to
if they can go into Iowa and beat them, they can sure as hell go into Ohio State.
Wait, in Penn State's favor,
don't face Ohio State. We're good.
In Penn State's defense, I mean, nobody said they were going to Wisconsin to beat them. I know they got away with some stuff too, but they
everybody doubted them.
If they can,
everybody doubted them.
I didn't like Wisconsin.
There was people saying, "Man, I was at a party watching it. Man, I thought Wisconsin was going to kill them. I blew up on them. I was so angry. I'm like, are you kidding me? We had 1 down season, and you're counting us out."
It was a really down season, though.
Yeah, I mean,
for a lot of teams, for a lot of teams,
yeah, it was.
But if they
came back at the end, too.
Matt, if they can get Iowa, if they can win this
Auburn,
Saturday,
we got to start with Auburn.
So if you could beat Wisconsin at Wisconsin, beat Auburn at home, out of conference game, you could beat Iowa at the road. I mean, that's a sweet resume.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they do also have to go face Michigan State to end the season.
And
they have to go to Ohio State. They host Michigan.
They host Michigan.
This is one of the toughest.
Keep in mind, Maryland is a tough road game.
It
always is. And that's one right between Ohio State and that team up north.
We don't know how good Rutgers is right now. I mean, they're 2-0. I mean,
could be a team also. I mean, the Big Ten East is strong this year, and it always looks strong to start off. It's once they start eating each other up in conference play, we really come out. So you still think it's Ohio State no matter what, coming out of the East until proven otherwise.
Well, proven otherwise, and I
don't know.
They got to fix their defense, obviously.
Yeah.
We talked about it how many times, but it's. I don't really know. I mean,
fortunately, what matters now is the conference record. Once you get conference play, and they're 1-0 in there, so they had a good win week 1 against Minnesota. They still need to make some adjustments on defense. Ryan Day said they would, but I think if not Ohio State, I'm really liking Michigan State right now.
Michigan State looks good.
We'll see. It's
hard. It's a toss-up.
I still see it being Ohio State.
I mean, I'm going with the bias because I like Penn State. I mean,
go ahead.
I mean, they can do it, Matt, but this is like one of the toughest schedules they've had in a couple years.
I mean, we got to play to our level every week. There's no slouching.
Yep.
They got to play 100%, 110%.
So, the big question mark here, one of our last ones to finish out the show. Should the Cowboys feed Zeke more, or do they keep relying on this passing game that had them nearly beating off the defending Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Don't feed him more. I mean, it's obvious that the first game with Dak coming back, they need more protection for him because our offensive line was a little bit depleted, injuries on it. So they use Zeke more as a pass blocker. I'm fine with that, but I do want to get him to see more touches because he's Zeke Elliott. That's the running game. When he's going,
people
Dak's
have been trashing him too, including me. And I think if they get him more carries, he can show more progression. So I think they should. I think they should definitely give him the ball in some way.
And they're going to.
I mean, if you look back at these last 3-4 seasons, the numbers have been declining. He was averaging 4.7 yards per carry back in 2018.
The fumble issue last year.
The fumble issue. I mean, it wasn't actually his first year for fumbles. His first year in the league, 5 fumbles, still had 1,800 rushing yards, though, so no one really complained. Because he also had 15 touchdowns, or 1,600 rushing yards, sorry. And then, year 2, bit of a down year. He had the one fumble, only 7 touchdowns. He's averaging 4.1 yards per carry. It was okay. Not everyone won at the end of the year 2. Year 3, though, he came back in a big way. 1,400 yards, 4.7. Since then, though, he has dropped consistently. He's still 1,000-yard back. You know that out of him.
Yeah.
Last season, though, only 4 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns, 5 fumbles. It's not what you want out of him. And, running backs' lifespans, normally about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
We've obviously seen a few more go longer. This is his 6th season in the NFL. Yeah. We know he's probably on the edge of that. And,
we're old.
I
remember when he got drafted.
Right. You don't know how much longer Zeke has. If he continues to put up 800, 900 yard season, he's going to have a solid role in the NFL for the next few years, much like, guys like Adrian Peterson and,
Frank Gore.
If you can still produce, you're going to have a spot in the NFL until you don't. But it's the touchdown to fumble ratio for him. I think they definitely do feed Zeke. They need to feed Zeke.
And they will.
Because he's hungry. He's hungry. And he's done a pretty good job keeping healthy, too.
Yeah.
And that's something you want out of a running back. The ability to stay healthy, play 15, 16 games in your season, and give you 1,000 yards. He's done that, so they need to feed him.
Yeah, and they will. They're going to. That's half their offense, so they're going to be
He's
fine.
hungry! Let's go!
Feed the beast. All right, Mike, wrap us up here. Some MLB NL Wild Card.
All right, so real quick before we conclude, if you guys keep up with this race at all, it's pretty interesting.
Sort of.
So we got 3 teams involved. We got the Cardinals, we got the Padres, we got the Cincinnati Reds. So it doesn't really seem like either team really wants it right now because none of these 3 teams.
It's football season. It's football
season.
season.
We got playoffs coming up. This is the best time for baseball.
The only good time for baseball.
It's
Go ahead.
Good time. Yeah.
Well, I gotta get this in. Okay, so this race is weird because no team is really establishing themselves as that wild card team. The Cardinals, they're probably looking like the most worthy team. They're 7-3 in the last 10 games, and they beat the Mets last night 11-6. Everybody's beat the Mets, so they're probably the most deserving right now. The Padres are disappointing. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They have struggled.
They're a bit
really since the All-Star break, and that's not you didn't expect that from them.
No.
People were talking about them contending for the division this year, and they haven't done that. The Reds are 3-7 in the last 10 games. They lost 4 in a row, including 2 to the Pirates. So this is a good race. It's not like it's great teams going at it, but it's everybody's
exciting
close.
way to the end of the season.
Nobody's right now. You could probably say the Cardinals are probably going to be that team that are probably the most deserving right now. But
do you think they end up being the guys that pull it out?
I would say so. They're pitching good. They're headlined by Goldschmidt and Arenado. Their lineup's deep. Their lineup's starting to click. I don't. There's not much I like. There's not much I like from the Reds. They're too inconsistent. The pitching hasn't been great.
No.
Neither has the Padres. Their pitching rotation's been bad. It's pretty much since the All-Star break. So we'll see.
Playoffs right around the corner. We'll see it.
All right. Lots of MLB stuff to talk about here shortly. We'll give our predictions the next coming weeks once we hit those final week of baseball, most likely, and everything's solidified. We'll start talking our predictions and stuff. So, without any further ado, I've been Ricky Vaughn. With me this week,
Clark Griswold.
Clark W. Griswold from the Blackhawks. And Mike back with us again once more here. It was a great show. Mike will be back on tomorrow. So, without any further ado, that wraps it up here for the Casual Sports Podcast. Day 4 in the books. Come back tomorrow. Even more to talk about, previewing the NFL and college football. See you next time.
See ya.